Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. Two of the 5 kids arrested in connection for a recent Omaha murder are being held without bond. 14-year-old Joseph Keys and 17-year-old Trenton Titsworth Hunt appeared in court today to face adult charges. They're accused of gunning down Mursa Jama at an Omaha apartment with a group of 3 others. All 5 face homicide charges. Prosecutors say before the shooting, they robbed a West Omaha gas station in a stolen car. Now, many of the children allegedly involved in this shooting have already been in the criminal justice system, but the youngest of them can only face relatively light charges. Law enforcement and the county attorney's office have shared their frustration over the situation. Our Joe Harris spoke with one of the kids' previous victims. He joins us live with more.
That's right, Jacqueline. Today, we also heard from a community group that works with troubled youth, like the accused in this case. And everyone who spoke with us says something needs to change, but the question is still how to go about it. Most of the youths accused of being involved in 64-year-old Mursa Jama's shooting death are not strangers to the justice system. That includes the 11 and 13-year-old boys who cannot be tried as adults.
They can't be detained. Even because of their age.
Douglas County Attorney Don Klein says his office is somewhat hamstrung by the current statute, which they've tried to have changed. And yet the 2 youngest juveniles in this case have criminal records. According to police reports, the 13-year-old had been charged for terroristic threats in June, while the 11-year-old was charged with motor vehicle theft on 2 occasions earlier this year and stealing Tucker Morgan's gun out of his car in July.
If you're going to do big boy crimes, you should be charged as an adult. I think it's crap that we continuously let these minors get away with, whether it be assaulting somebody downtown, shooting somebody. We continuously let them get away because they're young.
Other victims 6 News contacted did not want to comment.
I'm not saying that we want to send an 11-year-old to the penitentiary. I think it's just that we want to have some significant consequence for that person in the court system because of the terrible nature of what took place here.
Tamika Meese is the executive director of the North Omaha Community Partnership, which works with at-risk youth. She says a lot of the younger kids are aware that they can't get the hard charges the older kids face.
I think that for that reason, they're easily persuaded by older individuals that get these, younger kids to be involved in these activities because they know what the law is.
But she says there should be balance in how younger juveniles are dealt with. I
don't agree with, everything falling under one category, but when you're talking about something as serious as murder, we do need to find, other options, and we have to come and meet somewhere in the middle.
Now, the 13-year-old is scheduled for a preliminary hearing. The judge ordered that he remain in custody. The 11-year-old has waived his hearing. On your side, Joe Harris, 6 News.
The Nebraska